Now listen, for everybody that's listening to the sound of my voice right now, know without a shadow of a doubt that you are a winner. And how do I know? Because everyone in here is one in a million. Everyone in here is one in a million. And I know this because of the heartbeat and the pulse that's around this room right now and around the nation. I am so honored today, along with my co-host, Tamara Fair and B. Cole.
Absolutely.
To acknowledge my brother that's in the building that has taught me from a distance, that has taught me things without ever meeting me before, just speaking the truth into a microphone whenever it's placed in front of him. And when you have a person that gives you those type of skills, you can grow up and have the confidence to do what I'm doing on the microphone now, and that is interviewing the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. And you really need to give it up for that, y'all.
All right.
Yes.
Minister, we are so humbled to have you here today. Words, I can't put the words together. I do this on a weekly basis, yet and still, my heart is humble right now because I know how devastating it is for our young brothers and sisters in our community, particularly in Chicago. And I'm a young brother that's from 95th and Jeffrey in Chicago, and I grew up around Gangster Disciples and Almighty Black Peace Stones in Chicago, and we've seen so many changes take place. We have a school-to-prison pipeline that's overwhelming within our communities. We have housing problems, economic problems, and through all of that, we are still able to stand, and it's because of individuals like you that give us the resilience to go forward. So I'd just like to start off the show thanking you for that. Thanking you for guiding a young man who had his mother go to prison when he was 7 years old. My mother served 32 years in prison. And I ended up serving 10, which was my mother's worst nightmare, to have her son or children either assassinated or killed while she was in prison or be in prison themselves. And that 10 years being locked up in prison taught me so much, but at the same time, it showed me the disconnect that's in our communities and the things that we need to work on. I'm telling you, sir, I am elated. I'm elated to have you on the show today, sir. Thank you very much for coming to Darryl Cooke Live.
Thank you so very much, Brother Darryl. I really appreciate the honor of being here with you and Tamara and Biko. And with all of the wonderful people in the studio. I'm just honored to be here with you. So however God would have you to question me and how God would have me to serve you and your listening audience, I am more than pleased to try to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate that. So I want to start off with just, I see the violence that's taking place in Chicago, and I want to attach it to the historical trauma that we're walking around with as individuals. From the moment that we were put on the slave ship and went through the transatlantic trade line to have mothers who were so strong that they jumped overboard with their child versus to come over and be enslaved. Over 400 to 500 years. And then we have a disconnect when we come to the United States. And there isn't a time that I can recall that there hasn't been an oppressor against us. Whether it was the slave master, whether it was the police officer, or whether it was the correctional officer inside these institutions, like for instance, the one I was incarcerated with at Menard Correctional Center, given over 10 years of my life. People talk about the problems in our community, but they don't necessarily talk about the resilience that we have while dealing with that historical trauma. Can you just speak to the resilience that we have as a people?
The transatlantic slave trade was horror to the nth degree. Imagine our ancestors in the holds of ships, chained together in their urination and defecation, and in an animal state for several months to make that Atlantic crossing. Many of our parents would jump overboard rather than come here to be made slaves. But those who survived and made it to the Caribbean or made it to the shores of Virginia, we are the strongest of the strong. So no matter what they've done to us, we have survived because we are that people that were made close to nature. And when you're made close to nature, nature bounces back. I don't care what the condition is. The natural man, the natural woman, we can't be destroyed. And they've done everything and are doing everything to destroy us, but we are resilient, brother. You are a sign of it. And the fact that we are now in the condition that we are in, and nobody thinks that we could come back from this. In fact, it's written in the Bible, in the 37th chapter of Ezekiel, it talks about these dry bones in the valley. And the bones in the valley were talking to each other. And they were saying, our hope is lost. Our bones are dried. We are cut off from our parts. Now, you know bones don't talk. But this is the remains of a great nation in America. As you use the term disconnected, we are disconnected from each other and disconnected from ourselves, spiritually, mentally, economically, socially, politically. So these bones were talking, and God heard them. And he set a man down in that valley to speak to those bones. And that man spoke, and the bones shook, and the bones rattled, but they never came together. So the man went back to his sender and said, look, I've been talking to them, and they're shaking, they're rattling, but they're not coming together. And we have had some of the greatest orators, scholars, and teachers, and leaders to come to us. And everyone that came, we said, wow, that was great. We applauded. The bones shook. But when they left or were killed or were deported, here we are in the same condition. So when that man went back to God, he said, prophesy unto the winds, and let the winds blow on these bones. And the winds are blowing now. Yes, sir. It's getting harder than it's ever been for us. And now with Mr. Trump in the White House, the winds are howling. Yes. And Mad Dog Mattis is on the way, coming to the hood. Yes. So if we don't want to get together, God will send forces against us now to force us to see how much we need each other. So we don't have long to stay in this condition, and we don't have long to be under oppression, and we don't have long to be imprisoned. Our time of liberation has finally come, and the God of justice has come to take our enemy completely down. And you will be free, like Martin Luther King said, free at last. And that time is now.
Absolutely.
Minister Farrakhan, one Savior's Day, I heard you say to all of the thousands, even millions of people that were watching via satellite, I have been preaching to you. I have been teaching you. And I have been telling you what to do for over 30, 40 years, for decades, you said. You said, but it seems like you haven't been listening. Now, that was about 4 Saviors, maybe 5 Saviors days ago. Do you remember that speech?
Well, it's a constant refrain. It's like a father talking to a hard-headed child. But my mother used to tell me, a hard head make a soft behind. And we're about to get the worst whipping that we have ever had because we will not listen. Years ago, we knew it was the white man that was our worst enemy. Now, his spirit, his mind, his teaching is in us, and now we have become our worst enemy. So we are doing the top killing of each other, the top raping and robbing of each other, the top pimping of each other, the top dope selling to each other. So we need a whipping. And God is going to put that whipping on us. And when he get finished, you ain't got to worry. We're going to be all right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But all hard-headed children need a whipping.
Now, Minister, I'm from a time, I was living when hip-hop came into the world. You know, we were introduced to hip-hop and gave our brothers and sisters a freedom of speech to speak positively about our people, such as Public Enemy and, you know, Tribe Called Quest in that era. And it was a time when hip-hop came into the 90s when it became this big rap beef, you know, with Tupac and Biggie and other rap artists. And you actually called a meeting with all the hip-hop artists and came together. And you made cats, you know, shake hands and kill the beef. And the music today, as I will ask you, what would you say to the artists today that's sending out the messages that they sending out to our young children over the radio, over the airwaves? What would you say to these artists today?
First, you have to look to the hidden hand. Our people are puppets on somebody else's string. We came to educate our people through rap. That's why we loved Public Enemy, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane. All of those were teachers. But the enemy, when he saw that we were independent teaching, he signed us to record labels. Once you get signed to the record label, now you have an A&R man, somebody to tell you what kind of rap you're gonna make. So it was no longer educating our people through rap. It is now gangster rap. I heard that these white folk got together in California with those who were now engaged in the prison industrial complex. And the prisons now are on the stock market because it's privately owned and operated prisons. A man doesn't go into making a hotel unless you expect some, what do you call them, guests in your hotel. Well, this man is not over prisons thinking that he's not gonna have heavy guests. So what they did, they transformed intelligent rap to gangster rap to now drill. So it goes all the way down into funk and filth and death and destruction. So as we beef with each other, then the beef turns into guns. And how did all of these guns get in our hood? They come up in trains and unload trains and give guns to our young people. They're not giving them guns because they think we're gonna turn the guns on the white people. They're giving them guns to give them power in their block, in their set. So if I'm a gangster disciple and you Blackstone or somebody else is a four-corner hustler, all of us are looking at each other as the enemy. And then you got to make money. There's no jobs. So I'm selling drugs, you selling drugs. So I got to protect my market. So now my guns are used to destroy another member of my family. So this is why God is going to punish us if we don't see that we are tools of the enemy. We are not servants of God, nor are we friends and brothers of each other the way the Creator made us to be. The enemy has made us the enemy of our community, so the young can't walk the street, the elderly can't walk the street. Nobody is able to stop the pain and the hurt. And so God has to step in, and I tell you what is written. Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, myself, we've been talking for a long time. And all of us are talking about putting the guns down. All of us are talking about uniting these dry bones in the valley, because the greatest power that we have is the power to bring ourselves together into unity. Then 98% of our problems can be solved. But we don't want to unite. So now we are facing a terrible whipping. And I'm hoping that through programs like this, some of our people can be reached and say, look, man, it's time to put this to rest. It's time to put the gun down, killing myself, my people. I'm shooting, don't even know how to go to a gun range, can't go and learn how to shoot. So I'm shooting at my brother and kill a baby that's walking the street. So this got to stop. This is madness, and it's bringing down on us not only the wrath of God, but the wrath of the enemy. So when I heard Mr. Trump call Mad Dog Mathis, now you know everybody got a dog. You love your dog, but a mad dog? People put mad dogs down.
Yes.
And the reason this man is called Mad Dog Mathis, because they sent him into Fallujah in Afghanistan. And that man slaughtered people. So when Mr. Trump say he's sending that man to the south side and the west side of Chicago, he's, in Iraq, thank you. I can't make mistakes, so my brother corrected me. It was Iraq. Well, now it's Chirac. And so this man is coming, and he's bringing forces, and I'm here to warn our people, look, it's not going to be a pretty day. So let's get our act together while there's time.
How does that look, getting our act together?
Oh, it looks great if we do it. We're in the hood now, working with our young people. Look, you gotta give our people hope. They have no money, they have no jobs, and the enemy took all the factories out of the inner city. So when young people don't have jobs, but they look on television at all these fine things that they can acquire. Imagine Air Jordan that is made in some foreign country for $5, $6, and $7, and we are spending $160, $180 for sneakers to run like we are. This is the style. See, this is more madness, but we're victims victims of a colonial system. And that's why we're saying to our brothers and sisters in the gangs in particular, look, brothers, we're going to have to sit down and work it out. And in our unity, we can make demands. That's our power. And if we are united, we can take control of our communities. You like to fight? Good. Come on with us. And we'll show you how to fight right so that we become the new police force in our own hood. We don't want white people coming in policing us and don't live in our community, don't know what it's like to be black in America. No, you go back where you live and let our young people be trained, not by them, but be trained by us, because we love our people and we will not hurt our people. And if you allow us to train you, then we'll get for you what you need with God's help.
Very powerful, very insightful. I'm looking around the room right now at all the faces of my brothers and sisters, and there's a power that's inside this room right now. Listen, I want you to get all your people, let them know